Intros are super important in gaming. In anything, really. They're designed to hook the consumer, just as the intro in this video is going to try to do. And in Ace Attorney, there's no exception. The First Turnabout is a fantastic intro for the Ace Attorney series. It's quick, it's easy, it's fun, and it really gives a player a taste of what the series has to offer. In this video, I'll be going over and reviewing Ace Attorney's intro, the First Turnabout. Ace Attorney immediately tells the player that this is going to be a different kind of mystery game. The case's intro just straight up shows you the killer, this dude in a purple suit, something that would sort of become a staple in the series. This kind of thing is not in every single case, but it's in a ton of them, and it's a great way to communicate to a new player what kind of mystery game this is. It's not a whodunit most of the time, it's a howdunit. We enter the courtroom lobby and meet our protagonist, Phoenix Wright, and boy is he nervous. We also meet his mentor Mia and his client and best friend, Larry Butts. Larry is freaking the hell out, not about the fact that he's currently being prosecuted for murder, but the fact that his life with his girlfriend, the victim, is over. We then go to the courtroom and meet Winston Payne and the judge. Noticing Phoenix's nerves and the fact that he's new, the judge gives him a test. This section primarily exists to show the player what the court record is. And if you didn't know, you can get these questions wrong without getting a penalty. Try it. Some of the results are pretty funny, to be honest. Next time, Mia. Next time. After this test, we find out what the murder weapon was. A statue of the Thinker. Larry gets called to the stand, and we learn that Cindy Stone, the victim, had dumped him. Larry, of course, denied that, but said she wasn't seeing him or taking his calls, like, ever. He's in denial. We also learn that the victim was kind of a gold digger, a sugar baby. I don't know. She was in Paris the day before the murder. But, who'd she go with?
The man whose dick she was sucking.
Well, not exactly. You know what? Yeah. Payne, probably. You're right. Anyway, the case's only witness is called to the stand, aptly named Frank Saw It. Hey, wait a second. Isn't that the dude from the intro? He didn't saw it. He did it. Sorry. Alright, so he first testifies that he saw the defendant leaving the apartment at 1 p.m., and he went in to investigate and found the body. He then left to find a payphone so he could call the police. When asked about why he didn't just use the victim's phone, Payne answered for him, and said that there was a blackout at the time. Well, this cross-examination is really easy, as expected from the first ever one. The time of death was 4 p.m., not 1 p.m., When asked why he was so wrong about the time, Saw It says that he heard it from the TV. The victim must have been watching a taped program. Of course, this is some more BS from Frank. There was a blackout at the time. Saw It instead claimed that he saw the time on the murder weapon. When Phoenix says that the murder weapon was a statue, not a clock, Payne says that the statue doubles as a clock. If you tilted it, it said the time. Wright then uses this to turn the case onto Saw It, as the only way he could have known that is to have held the weapon himself. They then sounded the clock, and it was 3 hours slow, exactly as it was in Saw It's testimony. We then get our first sort of on-the-rope section here, of many in the series, as I'm sure you know. Saw It says we need to prove that it was running that slow on the day of the murder, which appears to be impossible. Mia then interjects and tells us to think outside the box, and we'll be able to come up with the solution. The solution is the fact that the victim had just returned from Paris. The clock was not running 3 hours slow. It was actually running 9 hours too fast. With that, we win. Frank Saw It killed Cindy Stone. Larry Butts is proven innocent. The outro happens, and everything is happy, 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 happy. Good job, guys. Well, at least for a couple days. Alright, so what do I think about this case? Well, let me open by saying this case is entirely incomparable to every other case in the series, even the other intro cases. Why? Well, it's the first. It wasn't the first case that was drafted, that was actually Turnabout Sisters. And if you didn't know that, go check out my video on 7 things you probably didn't know about Ace Attorney. But this was their first foray into really trying to put this format to the test, and it works. There's no investigation, of course, and it's only one trial section, but that's fine. This case is supposed to serve as a hook, and I think it does that just fine. I remember when I first got into this series like 4 or 5 years ago now. I remember the exact moment that got me hooked. I was watching Slizer's channel playing this case, and that first moment that Cornered plays told me that this game was going to be something special. And frankly, it was. Tell me down below, did this case hook you, or was it Turnabout Sisters? I'm also like 90% sure that Takumi knew that the Cornered theme would serve as a great hook. It plays for a really long time in this case, perhaps like longer than any other time in this game. Go back and play it to see, it only takes about 25 minutes. Cornered plays for like a quarter of that actual time, I swear. I mean, it's the best song in the game, and maybe even the series. They knew what they were doing here. This case is just about the perfect difficulty for an intro, to be honest. It's quite easy, and that's just fine. The player is still trying to orient themselves with the mechanics. So much to the point that pressing the witness doesn't even do anything other than let you see more dialogue. Mia doesn't even tell you that you can do it. The only thing that people might struggle with a little bit is that final question, trying to prove that the clock is running slow on the day of the murder. Yes, I struggled with it a bit while I was watching Slizer's video. Maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know. But I think we can all agree that this is the perfect time to spike the difficulty. By this point, the player is likely comfortable with all the mechanics, and probably breezed through the rest of the trial. If this final question wasn't more difficult, the case wouldn't have been as effective as a hook for the series. It really shows the player that you're going to have to think a lot harder by the time you get to the real cases. Especially the next case, when you find out that you'll be going up against an undefeated prosecutor. I think that Payne serves his role as a prosecutor quite well here. He's not that big of a pushover, compared to his later appearances especially, where he kinda just becomes a joke, him and his brother. He's perfectly hateable enough to make the player want to beat him, and his objection voice clips are ear-ruining. Just perfect, really. Frank Sawit is also a fine villain for the first case. His crime was a crime of passion, and not premeditated and carefully covered up like most of the other ones in the series. For an intro to the series, a basic killer is the best in my opinion. Of course, a basic killer was a detriment to the intro for Justice for All, but that's why I said intro to the series as a whole. Frank Sawit is the intro to the entire series, but for example, Wright from the next case is kind of a real intro into what an Ace Attorney culprit would be. And that's perfectly fine. This intro needed to be short and sweet. A killer like Wright just wouldn't have been able to deliver that. Think about all the things that this case introduces. 3 of our main characters for the trilogy, questions, testimony, cross-examination, presenting evidence, the amazing soundtrack, crooked witnesses, questionably motivated prosecutors, and, of course, maybe most famously, the breakdown. Arguably 2 of them if you count the toupee throwing. All of these things are staples of the series, and they can be traced back to the first Turnabout. To close, I'd like to reiterate that you really cannot compare this case to the rest of the series at all. It's different, and it set out to do different things than all the other cases, like I mentioned earlier. All in all, the first Turnabout is near perfect in my book for what it was trying to do, being an intro and a hook to the series. It's not the greatest thing ever written, but it really didn't need to be. Thank you. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Comment your thoughts on the first Turnabout down below. I'm actually really interested to see what you guys think about it. And I'll see you in a couple days with my next video.